Ladies and gentlemen, a chant, a member of our community, Arnold August. We're going to be talking about truth and reconciliation as we are celebrating that this month, in particular on September 30th. Arnold, of course, you're speaking as Arnold. Not that I expect you to represent all First Nations, not at all, because of the diverse, cultures and communities there.
Yeah.
But I want to hear your story and your thoughts and feelings and reflections about truth and reconciliation. So when you hear truth and reconciliation, in particular reconciliation, how does that hit you? I mean, it hits everyone a little bit differently as we hear it, but how does it hit you?
Well, it makes me think of my family that went through it, and 4 members are gone, but they suffered a lot. And Bernice and Louis and Janice they're still suffering yet because they don't want to, they're still mad at God, and that's just typical of First Nations that went through that. And I just think of I've been to many communities across Canada, and I think of all the people I met and how they must have had the same things that happened to them, and since some of them they have in Winnipeg, they have formed gangs like the Indian Posse, and because that's the only way they feel protected. And that's some of the tributaries that there's quite a few gangs that have propped up, like the Warriors and the Deuces and the Indian Posse, and that's a result of how some of them can never forgive, and they strike back, because I encountered a lot of them when I was in Winnipeg, and I tried to, but I made friends with a lot of them because I used to minister at different functions, hockey tournaments, powwows, in the bars, it's just kind of tough to see, even with how they were. The Prime Minister in Winnipeg is really doing a good job. He's speaking for the people, and like when they were dumping bodies in the garbage dumps, he went to work on it right away, and he got a lot accomplished through that, which is, and same with the missing women's here, how they, if you really want to hear some residential school story, just you can go to that missing women, and you'll hear some pretty scary stories, even from my sister. I didn't know she went through that. Man, what they did to her and Bernice. I was shocked.
Yeah. So now you know these truths really, and you know these things that have happened, and yet you were able to come through praising God, still loving God. Like, what kind of things did you have to really deal with and internalize to be the person that you are now?
Well, I got saved on John 14:1. Trouble not your heart, my son. You believe in God, believe also in me. And it took me a long time to forgive after a while, though. I still had bouts of drinking, and our family was pretty dysfunctional. Stepdad beating my mom up, and stuff like that, and never feeling safe on the reds. And it's just fear was my biggest enemy. Fear, and I always have some PSD bouts every now and then because of the sexual abuse and beatings and bathtub treatments and kneeling in the bathroom all night, and never know when they're gonna strap you, And Father Noonan used to play games with we had 4 posts there, and he'd come in with a 2x4 and, okay, then we're going to play a game of tag. And he never caught me, but he sure caught some other guys. And he sure hit them pretty hard too. And that's some of the things, I think that's where my fear generated from. I never knew when he was going to come into the juniors room. And I kind of I'm like that still today. But I really read my Bible on fears, and I listen to a lot of CDs, and I watch a lot of, things on YouTube like Daniel and how he went through his captivity, and other prophets, like Elijah. And I really get inspired when I listen to those, because in a lot of ways we're like Daniel ourselves. We're under a government, but it's the way how Daniel was. He was, God gave him the wisdom to survive under these kings, and I really look to that type of leadership, being under the chiefs, and they're corrupt with the money, and I'm supposed to get $1,000 a month, but they don't send it to me. So it's just stuff like that I think a lot of brothers and sisters go through. And even on the streets, a lot of our brothers and sisters are taking drugs because they numb themselves out. And my brother Ron did. He numbed himself out. He drank so much he died on it. Same with Edith, being a diabetic, and she was still drinking. She lost a leg, and she still didn't quit. And Sam died in a car accident up in Westfold, and my brother Ted died of some virus in Toronto. And that's just things that when I think of reconciliation, and I don't know if I have it right, but I think those big people that are up in the front, they don't really come down and help us, the people that are at the bottom. They were just saying that the money was just going all to the lawyers. And that's some of the things, even with my band, they do that. It's not fair, But on the other hand, I got the good Lord who looks after all my needs and keeps me helpful enough to go out and meet people and witness to the nurses and doctors and see what they go through. They go through a lot of heavy stuff there. When I was in emergency, holy mackerel, just the way the world is, and it's amazing that great peace of they that have thy loss, I'll not be offended, and thou keep him in perfect peace, his mind is stayed on thee because he trusted in thee. And those verses, they really help me, and there's sometimes I do get angry, and I do, it's just, but I have people pray for me here. And I had that one sister pray for me too, and it's good to be in unity with the church here. This church has really helped me out a lot. The songs and the sermons and the men's fellowship, and it's just something that'll keep me stable through all the trials and tribulations I go through. And and I'm able to help others too. I sometimes talk to people and I buy them coffee. Sometimes I'll buy them a dinner, and offer, okay, can I pray for you? And I pray for them, And,
So what can you say then to people that are watching this, to say, well, here's some actions or things that you can do towards reconciliation that would be helpful?
Well, I think for me, it's just like what you guys are doing here with that prayer, what you guys started here with that prayer ministry thing. I think that's gonna, because the First Nations are part of the, nation, they're part of the country, and you know, they were here first, and you know how they helped feed the people that first landed here. And those are some of the early things when I think about reconciliation, and even how today, when they had a ship sink on Queen Charlotte's, the natives went out there and, you know, helped those people, and they brought them to their communities and fed them. You know, that's the kinds of things I think of how First Nations have, and they've helped me a lot, you know, and they supported me when I was selling native handicrafts, and that's why we were able to do our ministry for quite a long time. So, you know, just helping one another and caring about one another, you know, that's something I'll never stop doing. And I have other people that do that for me too, you know, help me out financially and pray for me when like that sister prayed for me in there, and I was, I could just feel the power of her prayer go through me. And yeah, pray for one another, and if you're in a room, you know, pray for the church, just pray for my brothers and sisters. And that's like Joel was saying, where they saw that guy where he was in the corner of his room, and you know, the rug was worn out in that spot. And I think that's the real answer for reconciliation, is to just really have us all together like what you guys are doing now. Just pray for one another and pray for the nation, pray for our leaders, you know, and pray for the homeless people. And yeah, that's gonna really, they say prayer changes things, and it sure has for me, you know, like, yeah, you know, like, it's you know, if you're not famous, you're not rich, but if you have Jesus, you have everything. Yeah, I traveled on nothing for a long time, even, and not to worry, not to fear, you know, just quote your verses that you know, and you know, and just, yeah, just like Jesus did. He said, "This is written," and keep looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. You know, and you know He's near. He's always near. He's right there with you, going to the, like I feel Him right beside me when I'm laying on my back there at the hospital. I can feel, even when I was sick, I felt Him. And I walked out, you know, healed many times when I had pneumonia and COVID. And He just walked in the room and didn't say anything. But all of a sudden I was better.
Well, you come through a lot, and one of the things you talked about early as well, you know, as you learn things, you get wise, right? And so that's what we call you, as our wise guy around here, so full of wisdom.
Yeah.
Is there any last thing you would want to say to anybody to you know, encourage them? You know, you mentioned prayer. Anything else you want to?
Yeah, just read the Word and listen to the Word through CDs, or you know, listen to YouTube and Christian-based true stories. Like I used to watch Westerns a lot, but now I don't. And I rather watch something about Jesus. And I like reading the book of John. I'm telling you, John is, when I was a new Christian, that's the first chapter I read was the book of John. And I was reading it this morning, and oh my, the Word on there, you know, in the beginning was the Word, and you know, it's just stay immersed in the Word. That's the only thing that'll, you know, entertainment versus entering into the Word of God.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Arnold.